while politics is a game and a pretty tough one in the US, it's an incredibly dangerous sport also. And to play with the facts and the lies that we're saying about China right now has consequences. And that's what I worry about. And it's said by people like Trump who have no sense of responsibility at all. And it can get our country and the world into a lot of trouble. Well, let's see. He'll leave us with a pandemic killing perhaps hundreds of thousands of Americans. He'll leave us with Great Depression conditions. He'll leave us with a public debt that has gone completely out of control. He'll leave us with the highest levels of inequality of income and wealth in our history. He'll leave us with the most polarized society in our history. I think it is, aside from perhaps James Buchanan's lead into the Civil War, the worst presidency in American history.
One thing that Trump has done is that he broke the Washington obsession with budget deficits. And he did it for all the wrong reasons, but it has been a positive. And so that has actually, that has contributed. If we'd had President Clinton, that it would have been fiscal austerity year after year because Republicans would have been jumping up and down about the debt. And that would have been a bad thing for the economy. I think if nothing else, Joe Biden and the people around him are not going to allow themselves to be bullied into panicking about the debt the way that to some extent Barack Obama was. So that's going to be a positive thing if we have a Biden presidency.
President Trump has been very suspicious of our relationships with the rest of the world through international trade and immigration and foreign investment. But after this crisis, I think it's going to be very difficult for policymakers to re-engage with the rest of the world. And by the way, the rest of the world is going to have a hard time re-engaging with us. So our economy will be less globalized to all our detriment. Our economy will be diminished by that.
So a lot depends on what the next stage of the policy response is. If we don't get specific policies that we can talk about, it will be a long and rather flattish recovery. And we have to understand that we're going to come from levels that will still be eye-popping, notwithstanding really horrible numbers we've seen so far. So we are going to be in a very deep hole. And unless we get policy accelerators, it will take us quite a long time to get out of it.
So unless the US is suddenly going to start saving a lot more, it will need capital from overseas, which means it's going to import more than it exports. And yes, they can stop importing from China, but unless the savings rate goes up, it will simply mean that they end up importing from a lot of other places. And it's great rhetoric, of course, or certainly worked in 2016, to say that you're going to bring all this stuff back to the heartlands of America, but without a defined policy to deliberately raise domestic savings, it isn't going to work.
As we bring jobs back, it's probably not going to be, when I say we're going to bring supply chain back, but it won't be jobs. Much of that work will be done by robots. And so we shouldn't think of this as a job program. It's a resilience program. And in fact, in many aspects of this kind of protectionism are going to backfire. If others reciprocate, our exports will go down. One of the particularly ugly aspects of what the administration did was to say we aren't going to allow exports of some medical supplies. We import much more medical supplies than we export. So if others reciprocate with that same kind of ugliness, that same kind of putting ourselves in front of everybody else without any sense of the fact that we're in this together, we are going to be in a really bad shape. So let's hope that others are not as nasty as we have been, and that others understand more than the Trump administration has understood that we really need to have a cooperative solution to this pandemic.